How's Matt?
Hi, Shane.
Cool. So I think we're live. We'll just wait until. Cool. So I think we're starting, eh?
All right, perfect stuff. I'd just like to welcome everyone. Today's topic, we'll be discussing essential renovation tips for your home. Whether you're a home buyer or you might be looking to buy a property and renovate it as you move in. Perhaps you're an investor and you're purchasing a property that also requires renovations in order to flip it and sell it again, or to rent it out for rental purposes. Or perhaps you're already a homeowner and you're looking to upgrade your property, perhaps install a new kitchen, or do some sort of renovations on the property. So today is all about that, and just to give you guys some insight on, how, we go about our renovations and how that can help you in your renovations going forward. So Shane, if you'd like to move on to the next slide. All right, awesome. So just a bit of background in case you don't know who Kuro is and what we do. So Kuro was formed by my business partner Shane and myself. We both work really hard on business implementation and growing the business. Where Shane is more on the construction side of things, I myself am more on the sales and acquisition side of things. So we make for a really good partnership, and we're really all about empowering people through property. So that's not just the people that buy properties from us or those that we buy properties from, but also those that are customers through our property renovations and through our investment portfolios as well. So just to break down a bit more for you guys how the company works. So the Kuro Group is the main holding, followed by 3 divisions. Kuro Property Solutions follows on, basically our property flips and our acquisition side of things. Kuro Homes, which will be the main focal point of today, is the renovation side of our business and providing homeowners and home buyers. Lastly, the development section, which is our residential development portfolio. Cool. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to get started on describing the how our renovations work and giving you guys the tips that you can use to implement going forward. Please, this is in an interactive post or an interactive stream, so please just post your questions and comments in the comment section, and we'll try and answer them as we go along. Right, Shane's going to walk you through understanding your project. Go for it, Shane.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the introduction, Matt. I really do appreciate it. Always a pleasure to work with you. So the aim today is just to describe to the people out there exactly what is the primary requirements for successful renovation and how does one go about that and what entails a good kickoff project. So firstly, we'd like to start off and just introduce what exactly is the small project and a large project and who is actually really going to be involved in such. Obviously, a lot of these can interchange, but this is just a broad overview for you to understand. So generally, a large project is something of a new build, extension, or full house renovation. And then you have a smaller project, which is a partial house or room renovation within a property. And that's exactly where Kuro Homes comes in. We do large projects and small projects. And all of the people that you see either side of the projects is where we come into play, and we're able to assist with a full turnkey solution for you guys. Is there anyone out there who's currently going under a renovation or anyone who's experienced some bad renovation projects of their own? We'd love to hear more. Moving on. So initially, you actually want to start ahead with your plan. How exactly do you see this building or renovation mapping out? And it's important to understand your brief and your goals that you have set out for the particular project. And from there, once you know exactly what you want to do, understand what budget you have and are you able to achieve that. Just a high level budget indicating exactly what you can spend on the particular renovation or project. Then you want to understand when do you want to start and when do you want to finish the particular project. It's important to actually give yourself a deadline. As one is well aware, a lot of projects are indicated to start and end within 2 months, but often end up in 6 months or 6 years. It really depends on the person. Also understand that if it is a large project, you may want to actually move out of the property and get it done in a fastest timeline. Once we move on.
A common problem, Shane? Would you say that that's a common problem that people face, where they don't actually have a timeline or some sort of time frame that they track the renovation project on? Would you say that's common?
Yeah, 100%. I'd say more than 90% of the people don't have a clear timeline and budget set in place. So what generally should take them 2 months takes them 6 months. And your cost value of money is hugely important. And that's often where people run way over budget, way over timelines. And you essentially either you're living in a house that is half built, or you haven't built your house yet and you're living with your, say, in-laws for the next 2 years while you're finishing your renovation. So it's often a very common problem and needs to be set out from the beginning. And having a proper project manager at the start of the project, as well as a good architect on board and a good QS, can essentially summarize everything in a good key aspect that everyone will understand.
Awesome. So just to remind everyone, I see there's quite a few people joining halfway. So just let you know, the topic for today, we're discussing essential renovation tips. So this really is your chance, guys, to ask us any questions. Renovations are our game. It's what we do day in and day out. And if you yourself are looking to renovate your property, or you're going into some renovation project post-lockdown, please ask us your questions. This will be made available at a later stage for you guys to watch. It is being recorded. But yeah, if you want to get a live answer from us, please ask us your questions, and we'll be more than willing to assist.
Awesome. Yeah, and then once we've got our plan ahead, we go into the design phase. And typically here, you're going to be using people such as your architect, your interior designer, and your project manager at this point, really establishing the limits and bounds of the project. And at this point, it's very clear to communicate carefully and effectively with all of the people involved. You don't want miscommunication, because quite often things do go wrong where you assume someone understands the way you want something done, and it's not communicated effectively, and then you have major issues down the line. So clear communication is really, really important. Yeah. Another one to look for is your value engineering. Is just understanding that what can be achieved with the budget that you have, and there's certain ways and means around doing things effectively, achieving the same goal, but saving you on your pocket as well. And this is where the project manager and the architect will be able to assist you. Say again, Matt?
That's very. I'm saying that's very insightful. What I'd like to ask, maybe just to sum it up for everyone, who are the key personnel that one would have on a basic home? What sort of professionals would be involved from a basic point of view, just to sum up for everyone?
Yeah, so just to go back a slide, this is essentially a good summary, and you guys will be able to see this. And if you do want to get the actual slideshow, just let us know. We'll be able to assist you with this. But yeah, depending on your project size, these are the type of people that you would be using. But most commonly, on all projects, you have the architect, your general contractor and project manager, building team, artisans, plumbers. And then on your larger projects, it obviously gets a little bit more complex, and there's more people involved. But if you're doing a standard home renovation, you'd look between a small project and a large project. Cool.
But excellent. I think that's something.
Yeah. And then another key thing is make sure that you finalize your plans and your finishing details at the start. There's nothing worse than going through, and we've had this before, Matt, where as we progress through a project, we tend to change things. And okay, no, I don't want that wall there, or I don't want that kitchen there. And things tend to migrate across. And what happens is a lot of your costs go straight up, your timeline gets extended, your budgets are impacted. And again, that miscommunication and misselection of things from the start causes massive delays and costs at the end. So often someone wants to avoid and get things done at the beginning.
So essentially what you're saying, Shane, is that without proper preparation, you can actually end up failing in the end because most of the work is actually done in the preparation and planning. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, 100%. You almost want to spend essentially 50% of your time focusing on the beginning, if not more. Have a clear plan forward. Once you have that clear plan, your whole project is going to run smoothly. Yeah. And another thing is just have the proper team on board with you to assist you that whole way.
Excellent. Cool. I think that sounds.
And then, yeah, so once we dig deeper into our budget, this is when you're going to do it yourself, or you're going to consult with a quantity surveyor. And their sole purpose is to quantify the project to such a fine detail that you're able to cost every material that's going onto the site, your labor hours, labor time, any square meterage of anything that you do need is all going to be quantified by them. And on top of that, you're going to have to build in some sort of contingency just for errors, or, there's misuse of materials. Materials do get stolen on site. That's just a common thing in South Africa. You also have issues where if you have your budget too tight, things will happen that your budget will run over, and that becomes very, very costly if you're not prepared for it. And quite often you don't want to delay your project or stop it right at the end. Again, you need a contingency on time as well. And this is where you need to have a clear, good project manager on board who can then be able to indicate the exact time frame for everything, and he can monitor things. So if there are variations in any way, he's able to, mitigate the risk and make sure that the project is back online and smooth.
Excellent, excellent. And Shane, what would you say is, what are the most common problems that, people that are renovating their home or some sort of other project, what are the most common problems that people come across in terms of, under budgeting on or spending too much time on? What sort of the major issues that most people face?
Yeah, so a big one here is doing it right the first time. A lot of people might want to, skimp on certain things, or they say, okay, let's go with a cheaper product. And quite often that ends up costing them a lot more. A lot of the problems as well comes from the unforeseens, and we've experienced that a lot of the time before, is if you do have unforeseens, it's difficult to cost for them, and it's difficult to assume how bad something is until you start ripping it down. So things that you do need to watch out for is, say, bad plastering, water and damp damage. You've got issues with your trusses, roof leaks. I mean, roof leaks are always a nightmare because it's very difficult to actually trace the roof leak. And then once it's traced, there's also that destruction or, damage to the property that's happened over the years and years. And to repair that is often quite costly. Huh? But definitely, yeah, it's always advised to get a property inspector in there who can advise accordingly. They very, very helpful, and they, go all around the house. They'll, check out your foundations, they check out your roof, they check out anything that you need to be aware of, so that when you do go forward, you've got everything in mind to run through smoothly. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I suppose that goes back to your earlier point where you said that people need to consult with the correct professionals and make sure that they get those that do know what to look for before you even start the project. So if there are things that are picked up, one can budget for them and make provision for that. So I think that's a really good way to hammer home your earlier point.
Yeah, exactly. Once you've concluded on our budget, where you are, you're within your means, you would then move over to a detailed scope of work. So up until now, you haven't necessarily contracted anyone. You haven't spoken to any contractors up until this point. You've essentially had your high-level team who's going to assist with planning the whole project ahead. Now it's about, getting down to the detail and scoping out the project. And it's quite often a problem that we've faced and everyone else faces is if you don't have a detailed scope of work, things either get miscommunicated, people didn't understand things, and I thought that wall was meant to be a single wall, and when it's not meant to be that. So there's a lot of issues that do come about not having a detailed scope of work, and it also allows for people to budget and cost properly. So when someone's quoting you, you quite often find that they'll miss things or leave things out, and sometimes that is on purpose from contractors, is to undercut the cost so that they get selected and then they win the contract, but later on there's a lot of variation orders that do come in from that particular contractor. So under the detailed scope of work, you really want to involve your architect, possibly your interior designer, your quantity surveyor most definitely, and a project manager up until this point. And be careful, build it right the first time. I mean, that's a point you can hammer home day after day after day, because quite often, if your largest structural aspects of a property are built incorrectly, they're going to cost you 10 times down the line. If you have poor foundations or poor walls or poor roof, you might not feel it now. You've saved a few $100,000 or a couple of thousand on skimping, but down the line, it's going to cost you way more in the future. And understand the expectation of your team. Like what can you realistically expect from your team before you need to look at someone more professional as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I think the scope of works is very important. Understanding, what one wants to do and how they're going to go about that is very important. Just while we're on this topic, I see there is a question from Charlotte. She's asking, if you're looking to sell your home, but can't afford to renovate the entire house, which rooms would you say are the most important to renovate to attract buyers? So essentially what the question's asking, Shane, is, not everyone has this amazing budget where they can just, go all out and all lavish on the renovations, but they want to maybe be a bit smart with their budget and focus on the best areas, to attract buyers that are selling their property. What rooms would you say are the most important to focus on?
Yeah, so definitely this is where the point on the value engineering comes into play, is understanding what you have and what you're hoping to achieve. Again, don't skimp on anything. If you're going to repaint the property, again, that's really good advice. Start with repainting. That with a smaller cost, you're able to add a lot of value. But again, paint it right. Don't have some cheap contractors paint, because eventually it's going to peel off and it's not going to look good on your side either. But beyond painting, one would look definitely for additions or renovations to the kitchens and the bathrooms. That is quite often key, where people are looking for when they do come and view a property. Your bedrooms you can get away with. People always change the tiles or carpets or whatever, but definitely like kitchens and bathrooms, that's where people are going to go through first. Bedrooms they can manage, but yeah, kitchens and bathrooms, that's ideal. And we've also found from our experiences, some just decent landscaping, just keeping the property in some good nick really helps go a long way.
Excellent. I hope that answers your question, Charlotte. Let us know in the comments. And if there are anyone else out there that do have questions, this is your chance. We are renovation experts. This is our daily bread and butter. So please do ask your questions in the comments if you have any questions about any current renovation projects you're undertaking or anything going forward in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And then once you've essentially got your scope of works, so you've now gone through your plan, and now you've got the scope of works down. You now at this point you're going to put it out to tender. So now contractors are going to come through and bid. At this point, they've got a detailed scope of work, so they're able to quote accordingly. Again, at this point, you need to be able to do your research and vetting of these contractors. That is really crucial. So understand what they have quoted is exactly what you're asking for. Understand also what the products that they are set to use. Some people can cost you a certain thing, but they're using a cheaper product. Understand, as this is probably your home for the next 10 or 20 years, you want to be able to get the best products in there at the best possible price. So understand that and conduct your research on these contractors. Do a lot of vetting on them and follow up with their references. That's NB. Don't go and take on a contractor who gives you one fixed price to do their whole entire works, because he's going to skimp on something and he's going to pull out of something. You actually want a detailed quote, line by line item, showing all of the different items that he is using and what he's including and what his particular rates are. That also helps if you are needing to argue anything, you can directly pinpoint something. Once you've gone through a couple of contractors, and we'd recommend at least 3. So if you're doing some building works, get 3 builders or 3 contractors in there. Plumbers, get at least 3. Electrical guys, get at least 3 as well. It just helps you understand what is in the market and what you're expecting to pay for certain things as well. But at this point, your QS, your quantity surveyor, and your architect will definitely be able to help up until this point. Again, you can always get those people to vet for you, delegate the task onto someone else. And then once you have finalized everything, you may want to go back and forth and negotiate on the price. There might be a few picking points that you want to do. You also want to decide, okay, what is my timelines? You want to discuss certain things. You also want to discuss, okay, what deposit am I putting down, and what else am I paying you, to what sort of standard, to what degree of work that has been completed will your next payment come. Very, very important, as you don't want to be paying 100% upfront. And we personally wouldn't pay 50% either upfront. You just really want a contractor who's not paying for his previous job by using your current money, but he's coming on board to help you to the best degree of his ability. Yeah? Then once you've got the contractors in order, you need to then set up contracts between them. Very, very important. And this just handles any disputes and gives a good idea of what everyone can expect and everyone's roles and responsibilities. Hey, Matt, anything you want to add there? Matt, do you want to add anything?
We just change your position. But yeah, I think that was very insightful, and I think you're giving everyone a lot. I think you give everyone a lot of good tips, that they can use in their own experience and their own projects. How would you say, a lot of people have been scammed by contractors in the past? They had people run away with their money or overcharge them or not finish the works completely. What would you say, should they be monitoring everything, or do you think that some elements of it should be controlled by the person who's actually implementing the project?
Yeah, so this is definitely where the research and vetting of contractors is important. Quite often people will go and hire the cheapest guy possible because they want to save on monies, and quite often you get the same result.
I think a lot of homeowners try to make their property the best home possible, and the issue with it is you might not make your money back when you try and sell the property, or a lot of the time you actually end up making a loss in terms of the amount of money you put in compared to what you actually sell the property for. So I would recommend that you actually get of the what houses in your area actually look like. What sort of finishes have they been spec'd out with? What sort of attributes do people hold highly within a specific area? What are people looking for? Are they looking for really fine kitchens? Are they looking for that extra bedroom or perhaps an extra bathroom? We really got to try and understand your area and what type of people are living in that area. So yeah, the best thing to do is to talk to someone who's an expert in your area and understands it completely. And also, if you discuss with contractors or even those that are at supplier shops in terms of what can still look good on it. And it really depends on the area and where you live. So obviously, if you live in a more higher end area, you're obviously going to go with a more higher spec finish. The same with, if you're living in a more lower end area, you generally tend to be a lot more conservative, with your choices. I hope that answers your question, Adele. And yeah, guys, again, if there are any other further questions, we still have about another 5 minutes on the stream. Please do let us know. Shane, I see you back with us. I think you broke up a little bit there.
Yeah, sorry about that. Typical South Africa. Yeah, cool. So your question in terms of like how do you avoid getting ripped off and screwed around is definitely your research and vetting. That's very important. Again, don't take what the person says for their word. Get your contracts in place, and quite often, if you're unsure about someone, you can always opt to buy the materials, and they will supply the labor. That essentially limits the amount of money that you put down as a deposit. A lot of guys might require 50 to 70% deposit if they're going to be buying the materials. You can then discuss with them and say, listen, you will purchase the materials on the behalf of the contractor, but you're only going to pay a 20% or 30% deposit, thus ensuring that you don't get screwed around and you own all of the materials up until that point. It's a good way to monitor it. And again, project manager, speak to the right team. We've implemented Kuro Homes for this exact same reason, is that people get screwed over, don't get the quality they want, and that's where we step in and we bring the professional teams that get it done right.
Awesome, Shane. And yeah, I think we can maybe just let our viewers know, how many projects we've done to date, what sort of projects are we taking on, what kind of experience does Kuro have, with renovation projects.
Yeah, so we're pushing, going on to our 10th project now, in terms of the construction side of things. And if I can just be honest with you, we've dealt with the worst of the worst. We've had quite a bit of experience of the worst properties that you can actually think of. We're talking about falling trusses. We're talking about damp issues. We're talking about foundations that are falling apart and that actually get underpinned. There's a huge amount of issues that we have dealt with, and this is what we go in to repair and make beautiful, to sell it on to someone else who will actually find joy in the home. Matt, you there? And then, yeah, if we move on to the construction phase of things, once you've got everything in order and you've selected the correct team and you're quite happy with them, you're going to move in on to the construction phase. And it's quite possible that you want to check on the site at least once a week, minimum, if not every day. It depends on how you're managing the project. If you've got a project manager in there, you quite often want to rely on the project to run smoothly because of the teams you've employed. And that's what they're there for, is to do the exact same thing, save you money in the long run, get the project done right and on time. If you are doing a smaller project, know your DIY limits. A lot of people will say, okay, no, we'll do the tiling because we want to save a little bit of money. But quite often that tiling job took them 6 months and is never complete. It's never right. And the person just does not have the skills and expertise to complete it. So know your limits, know what you are comfortable doing and what you're not. Yes, if you're going to have a professional team come in, you are going to pay a little bit more, but quite often you can have that done properly on time, and you always have someone to hold accountable for should there be an issue with anything. And always make timely decisions. If there is a change of any sorts, you want to be making that change as soon as possible, acting on it, and not taking a week to decide what it is that you are going to do and what's the best thing around it. Again, you shouldn't necessarily make any variations if from the beginning you've planned it out correctly. Yes, there will be times where things do go wrong, but that's why you have the contingency. You shouldn't be relying on the contingency as a money pocket to go overboard and spend more money on certain things. That's purely there to save your ass if something goes wrong.
Awesome. Thank you, Shane. Last minute questions, please feel free to send them through in the comment section below. We just want to thank you guys for attending again. And yeah, just to let you know that if you are, even after all our essential tips that we provided today, if you're still unsure about how to proceed with your next renovation project, and you're perhaps looking for experts to come in and just guide you and take on that responsibility for you, through our Kuro Homes division at Kuro Property Group, we do actually project manage and renovate properties on behalf of project owners and homeowners. So if you are looking for professionals to come on board and give you a professional full turnkey service, we are available to do so. Our contact details are there on the last slide. I know Anna previously asked how to get in touch with us. So again, we're on all major social media channels. You can contact us via our website and email address as well, or you can contact us on our call center number. That's the 087 number. We're also available on WhatsApp, which is the 078 number. Again, guys, we would want to thank you for tuning in. We hope you found it empowering and insightful. This will be available to watch again on all our social media channels, but predominantly YouTube. Are offering a 10 to 15% discount on all renovations post-COVID lockdown. So if you are looking to start a project in the near future, you can benefit from that. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will all chat to you guys very soon.
Thanks, everyone. Matt, you there? Matt?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. So I've stopped the live stream.